Hi there. This is Trent Folks, the editor for the Social Power Lab podcast. Before today's episode begins, I just wanted to make a quick announcement that we are now on Apple Podcast and Substack. More information at the end of the episode. Hello, and welcome to the Social Power Lab podcast, brought to you by Folks Leadership Group.
Well, here we are again, episode 10. That's kind of a celebration, I think. I don't know what we should do to celebrate. Maybe, I don't know, talk about power.
Oh, well, that's a good thought. We could,
One idea off the top of my head,
just
but
to celebrate talking about power for 10 episodes, we'll talk about power for 10 episodes. How's that?
that's kind of how we do.
How we roll?
Yeah, so welcome everyone to episode 10 of the Social Power Lab. We're Vokes Leadership Group. I'm everybody's favorite plus-size French boy, Adrian Deschamps II. True story, I'm actually the second in my lineage. And I have Dr. Ted Vokes, the handsomest Jedi Master on this side of the hemisphere. That's we gotta start off. I gotta start off embarrassing him because that's just how we do things. It makes up for the years when I was, when our power dynamics were quite different, actually.
When I used to bully you, is what you're implying.
I mean, not bully me, but when I wasn't as when I saw you as more as an authority figure, I guess, right? As like the student to professor kind of dynamic, and you know, you'd throw me on the spot in front of an audience. Here, Adrian, explain this.
600 people. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I mean,
Yeah,
it's just you know, paying it back with love.
yep. No, it's deserved. It's deserved. Absolutely.
And this is kind of the opposite of what we're going to talk about today because I like to think that you and I display a very healthy sense of power towards each other,
I sure hope.
and we analyze it. But we're going to talk about today a continuation of talking about the high conflict tactics that we see folks with dark traits exhibit in the workplace, in their personal lives, in friendships, relationships, you name it. These are the patterns behaviorally that we commonly see. And in our work, we, it's an unfortunate thing that we're able to point it out so easily. And when we have clients kind of explain to us the behavior of the person that they're concerned with, it's usually follows this same pattern. So can have some interesting variants to say the least, but there's a lot of these tactics are pretty frequent across the board. So yeah, with that, how do we want
Yeah,
to start this off, Ted?
yeah. And I want to underscore some of the things you're saying, Adrian, because they really are scripted. Like these tactics, I'm not saying this is I mean, we we added two more this week, and we knew them, but they were sort of in the training PowerPoint, and so we probably wouldn't have brought them up. But we have seen these things often before, um, and the other thing we have been doing is we're talking about family, community, organizations where all this happens. But I want to remind everybody that this applies on every single level of analysis. So all of the tactics that we have been discussing are used at the international level too. Um, right? That was one of the most uh, incredible realizations when we were first working with the construct of coming up with forms of power and whatnot. We thought very much that there'd be different forms of power that would probably be used in by maybe by kids or by in families or in companies and organizations, and then on the international level. And as it turns out, and we'll make the case for this in more detail later on, it's the same 12 forms of power in the reward, the threat, and the neutral vectors that we outlined at the beginning of the podcast. Um, And literally it works at every level. So I'm going to try to remind ourselves to bring in some of the international examples because they're all over the place right now. Never more than, or I won't say never more than any time in history, but definitely massive high conflict power plays between nation states happening on the planet. And so we'll be mindful to bring them in from every level. But if it can happen in the schoolyard, it can happen at the United Nations and does, um, or beyond the United Nations. The United Nations doesn't have a lot of power, quite frankly, and not the power that it was intended to have when it was first conceived of. So yeah, we'll talk about this. Nation states can be bullies if they got enough power and they've got the inclination to be that way. And I have been thinking, I haven't shared this with our team yet, but I have been thinking we're going to do an episode on the state of the world, the entire planet, the human components of the planet, and how we can understand what's happening on a very global scale, right through the lens of power that we're describing to you now. So if you learn it and you're following along and you're starting to see your local world through this lens of power, it translates right up to reading the news and going, oh, look at the forms of power that nation A is using to leverage their power over nation state B. So yeah, I just wanted to have that preamble. And last time we were looking at the tactics, the time before that, the strategies. So we started in tactics. We're going to aim to do all of the tactics that we've thus far identified. The other piece I want to make clear is that it's almost as though people with dark personality traits have gone to the same school of strategies and tactics. They haven't, but they have such a playbook that is so predictable. It's almost, I don't want to say comical, but you just like you roll your eyes and you go, oh yeah, here it comes. Like let me guess, and then do this and this, and people who have never encountered this and haven't had this framework, and they're talking to us about these problems in their organization, and they'll go, how do you know, that they do these things? You've never met them. No, we haven't, but we've met the dark traits, and the dark traits lead to these methodologies for abusing power. Um, so it's really like they're all working from the same playbook, and they're not. But in later episodes, we'll explain why we believe, in fact, what how these tactics emerge from the same personality dynamics in such a consistent way. And in so much of psychology, everything is shades of gray.
Yeah.
Um, and this is not exactly black and white, but I am fond of saying this is about as black and white as I've seen psychology approach, in terms of the predictability of the behaviors that come out of people with dark traits. Um, so what do you want to add on there, Adrian?
Uh, just a couple interesting points. Something that I've, been noticing more and more lately is when you have two people that exhibit these tactics. So let's say you have two high conflict people in one environment, they cannot stand each other unless they, I don't know, have a common goal of something, which is kind of rare. But like in workplaces, you see that because
Yeah.
there's little alliances that are built in workplaces. But if you just think of like just I don't know, like a party, right, or a get together where you're having different people from different parts of your life come together, two high conflict people, they can't stand each other. And I think one of my favorite things to analyze psychologically is how they understand these tactics in the other.
Hmm.
Like they'll weaponize these words and be like, oh, you're being like, you're gaslighting right now, or like, oh, you're being such a narcissist, or you're being like, they'll literally apply these things to other people but not to
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah.
And I've always found that baffling because, there's the beliefs that, these folks don't understand the behavior and the impact and what they're, you know, like how off-putting the behavior can be, but then like they do, they just don't apply it to themselves,
Yeah.
because the rules don't apply to them, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was interesting. The other thing I was going to make a really stupid joke about Shades of Grey. I was going to say 49 Shades of Grey, but I'll just leave it there because it's
What we didn't make it to the 50 Shades
no,
cutoff mark.
no, that's already patented. So
That's already okay. We can't do that one. All right. Well,
yeah,
yeah.
but
Well, let's do the 51st shade of gray. Uh, I'm really mixing strange dynamics there.
yeah,
Won't. Yeah. Wow.
yeah.
Uh,
Our tactics that yeah, that we're gonna move into. It's one of those kind of things. I was talking about this today with somebody that, you know, um, unfortunately you're gonna recognize these, right? Unfortunately, as we go through these tactics, you might have even had them used against you, right?
mhm.
It's kind of the same kind of precursor I like to give when we do this training is like, the Uncle Fred or whatever, right? Like, yeah, everyone has an Uncle Fred, or everyone has a, so and so from their baseball team that they can remember exhibiting this behavior. So with the tactics, it's kind of the same thing, right? You might have memories of like high school or past workplaces or past relationships where these tactics were used, and that's just what we're here for, is to really understand these things, right, and give a language to it.
Yeah.
Gaslighting, when a lot of people learn what that is, it honestly kind of changes their life a bit, right? Like they can
Yeah.
finally pinpoint, like, oh, like that's the word for it. That's what they're doing. So, yeah.
Well, we're going to take you there today, and e- all of this discussion can be triggering for some people at some times. So just listen to this when you're in a good place, and because this is how to use power dirty. And if any of us, we started our last episode saying, hey, anybody can engage in some of these behaviors some of the time. That's, I want to review that caveat. That doesn't make you dark. In fact, if you are concerned that you are dark, and almost every large group that we present to, somebody will say, I wonder if I'm like a narcissist. And the response to that, and it's a truthful response, is if you're worried that you're a narcissist, you aren't a narcissist, because narcissists are not worried about it. They're really quite comfortable with it. Some psychopaths consider themselves superior to empaths, as in
Yeah.
a superior being, a more evolved kind of human, if you will.
Yeah. The
Right?
apex predator.
Yeah, yeah,
That's from a movie, but yeah.
yeah. But it's there. Um, so yes, all of us have done some of these some of the time, and then we feel guilt, remorse, and we sort of double down and go, "Man, I'm not doing that again." And hopefully, we approach whomever we may have done this to and apologize and do better. Try to do better. So, um, so these behaviors are power plays. They're manipulations of power. They are designed to the degree that anybody sits down and calculates them. They don't do it. They just know to do it because they've been doing it all their lives. Um, and oh, and circling back to your point, Adrian, we do frequently see high conflict people who are behaving in these ways, and we know that dark traits underlie all of that, going at each other, but they don't only go at each other. And like you said, sometimes they team up. But you made the point last time, Adrian, that the minute that they team up, they're just as inclined to throw the other one under the bus the minute the alliance doesn't suit them anymore.
Oh yeah.
There's absolutely no loyalty possible um, in these individuals. And so gaslighting, we did have we did speak about gaslighting in a previous episode, sort of warming up. I think we jumped the gun on it and we brought it in because it made sense in the context of it. It was even before we discussed the strategies that people with dark traits deploy, the five. So we did talk about the origins of where the term comes from, and so we won't go as deep into it, but I will acknowledge for those of you who listen to that one that neither Adrian or I have yet to see the movie Gaslight.
I
um,
know. We're
right?
we're
We
so
keep
bad with
swearing we got to do it, you know. But it comes from the movie Gaslighting, or Gaslit, and Gaslight. It's Gaslight,
But a movie
and
we did watch together, we watched Rocky Horror Picture Show together during the pandemic.
oh
That
yeah,
that was legendary.
that oh it was epic, absolutely epic. Yeah, lots of power dynamics in that too, because well, life is about exercising power in some ways, and yeah, but maybe not the, you know, maybe that's not why we watched the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's just it's fun.
It was Halloween. It
Yeah,
was
no, we did a lot of our whole team during the pandemic.
yeah, we
We
had some
did
movie nights.
movie nights, and everybody would watch the same movie and keep our mics on so that we could all hear each other laugh or comment or whatever. It was you know, make and do during that time. Um, anyway, I digress. Gaslighting. Um, we have identified, not that we own the gaslighting by any stretch, but we're up to 10 forms of gaslighting, and they all have underlying them the intention to get the person that you are gaslighting to doubt or question their own sense of reality. And that's huge. If we can't trust our own brains to make sense of reality, that's a terrifying experience, right? That's just that's devastating. We will immediately not feel safe, and so that's what gaslighting is about. It's to convince the person that you're targeting that they don't have a grasp of reality, that you do, and they're wrong, and you know, you should give reality shaping power to me because I know what's going on. So gaslighting won't work if you don't give somebody reality shaping power, right? So if this person has no credibility with you whatsoever, and this is one of the things you're going to want to do when you realize that you're a target of somebody with dark traits, is take away reality shaping power, because they'll want to tell you who you really are, um, to diminish your own sense of confidence in the realities that you're interpreting and creating, and your own sense of identity and all the rest. So the solution here, I'll jump to that is to withdraw reality shaping power from them. Don't let them tell you who you are or how things happened, or you know, how other people feel about you. Um, you know, because they're out to get you to question the very foundations of your reality. That's, we call it reality shaping power. Um,
Mhm.
you know, um, we all have people in our lives that we do give reality shaping power to. You don't even have to know them. I know certain journalists and political scientists who I you know, if they're talking, I don't necessarily automatically adopt their view of reality, but I give it a close listen. But then there'll be others who it's like, well, they're talking. I mean, you know, they have an agenda. I'm not giving whatever they're saying any credence, any uh, you know, ability to shape my view of what's happening in the world. So we all do this naturally. Um, you know, the first people that we give reality shaping power to are probably our family, the family that we're born into, and that's kind of their job to shepherd us into the world and tell us how the world works and what's real and what isn't. Um, so gaslighting is a manipulation of reality shaping power. That's what it's all about.
That's really well put, honestly. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's It's the essential component.
Hmm. Yeah. If I can't perceive the world and trust my perceptions, what have I got to count on? Right? Like that's scary. Um, and you see people come out from general anesthetic, and they're bewildered and they're confused and they don't know where they are and they don't know what's happened, and all the rest of that. And until they're able to refocus and whatnot, they're kind of in a world of you know it can be very um, suggestible, if you will, right? They can be very malleable to whatever somebody might tell them, and they're trying to make sense too. And sometimes they come up with some pretty interesting um, uh, expressions. I'm holding myself back from telling such a story about
Oh
working
God, I
with
mean,
a family member.
I can't believe I'm about to say this on the internet, but it reminds me of when I woke up during a colonoscopy. Right? It was just it's probably one of the most wild experiences of my life. Oh my God, didn't know
Yeah.
what was real. Didn't know. Oh my God.
Hmm.
Yeah. There you
Yeah.
go, internet. Have fun with that one.
Yeah. Just yeah. Run with that one. It's a lot of traction we can get.
Yeah, you know.
Hmm. So, so what are you talking about gaslighting? We're going to go through them and we'll list them for you. The first one is classic gaslighting, which is basically denial. That never happened. What's wrong with you? Like I was there. I know what happened. You were there. Why don't you know what happened? Right? And so it's really you're not seeing the world accurately, but I am. Right? I am. So that's classic gaslighting. Do you want to take the next one, Adrian?
Yeah, so withholding, if you raise something they defined as out of bounds. So it's essentially like a boundary control thing, right?
Hmm.
Um, I won't talk to you if you bring that up, right? I can't ever, bring up what bothers me most. It sets them off, right? You
Right.
hear things like that that people say. It's like, oh, I can't talk about, I don't know, I can't talk about something that I'm bothered by in the relationship because it sets him off.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't let me talk about it, and then it becomes a big fight, like stuff like that, right? So it becomes like a very, very controlled, very yeah. It's very. There's lots of different examples of that. Or like don't bring that up because you're gonna make me say something I'm gonna regret, or like stuff like that,
Yeah.
right? Like so.
Yeah. And it leads to self-censorship, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't talk about that. It's an issue in my relationship with this person, but don't go there because that will set them off. And so, you on some level know this is a problem in this relationship. And of course, if you're in a relationship with somebody who's dark, you got a problem because you are not going to win them over. You are not going to have if they're treating you well, it's only because they're manipulating you. So, or you're a negative advocate, right? A flying monkey for them. But there's no real loyalty there. Um, so they set up these these boundaries so you can't talk about something that is legitimately a concern for you. And so that's the withholding. It's out of bounds. You can't go there, and if you do, you're the problem. So I can't talk about my problem with you because I've set that as something that can't be talked about. So isn't that perfect, right? The very thing that is upsetting you most about me, I've already set a boundary around which you're not allowed to talk about. So you're left. Uh, oh well, if I bring that up, it upsets them, and that's cruel to do that. So you become framed as the victimizer if you bring that out of bounds thing up. How's that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's the number three that's is contradicting your reality, and this is correcting. So it's different from denial. I mean, there's so much overlap over all these, but it's nice to tease them out. Revising the facts of this event. You know, you aren't remember it correctly. Let me tell you how it really happened. And so this is, you know, to get you to not only question maybe your perceptions of reality, this is to get you to question your memory, you know, the accuracy of your memory. And we know that memory is very malleable. Well, you know, when we get heavy into reality shaping power, we'll give some examples of this. We did talk about that early on. We were talking about reality shaping power, actually, was how you can induce false memories and whatnot. So, you know, by manipulating reality or manipulating somebody by giving them false information after the events. And yeah, tune into that episode for a little bit more on it and probably future ones. But contradicting, you know, you aren't, you know, honey, I'm sorry, you're wrong. It's not how it happened. This is how it actually happened. And they'll say it with assurity. They'll say it with confidence, right?
Mhm.
Narcissists are really good at saying things, you know, with authority, and that can cause you to um, start to question. Well, maybe I am remembering it wrong.
Hmm. And I mean, like, you know, a lot of them too, it won't always be as like gentle. It could be like, oh, yeah, you know what? No, let me tell you what happened, right? Like,
Yeah,
it'll be like very rambunctious, right? It'll be like, or
you're stupid, you
or
know.
like you'll start telling your side of things and they'll like roll their eyes,
Hmm.
be like, oh my God, that's ridiculous. No, here's what happened.
Yeah.
Right. One of my best examples, honestly, go watch an episode of Jersey Shore. It's like every episode they do that to each other, right? One of them starts gossiping about the other, and then, you know, it'll, yeah, like it's just ridiculous. But yeah, it's essentially like correcting and rewriting the narrative, right?
Yeah.
Which again, if you're not feeling a sense of stress and conflict, right, you have no problem doing that. You have no problem invalidating another person
Hmm.
if you don't feel the stress of the conflict. Whereas, you know, the everyday person is going to feel stressed out by the conflict and, you know, they're going to be more susceptible to, you know, different changes in narrative and that kind of conflict pressure, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. Hence the term high conflict.
Yeah.
They're rewarded by conflict. Their reward system is gratified. You know, floods it with the right neurotransmitters to go, wow, this feels great because I'm ramping up Adrian right here, and he's,
Mhm.
you know, I've destabilized him. He's you know, questioning what's up and what's down at this point. That would be a state of having been very effectively gaslit. So,
Yeah. Or actually, another version that I've seen is they'll start laughing when they contradict your reality, right? Like you'll say how you're perceiving something, and they'll treat it like it's a joke, right? They'll be like,
hmm
"Oh my God, you're ridiculous." No, this is what happened. Okay, you're
hmm
not even thinking straight right now, right? And they'll like ridicule you.
yeah,
That's a thing that, yeah,
yeah,
I've seen quite a bit of as well.
yeah, and it can be patronizing, sweetie. You know, you're feeble-minded. You know, let me tell you how it really went, all the way up to, ah, right. You know, um, yeah. So there's contradicting. Um, you why don't you take you want to do the next one there, Adrian?
Yeah, so diversion away from your reality, right? So narrative seizing. And this is changing the subject to make the problem about the victim and deflect from the deeds of the high conflict person.
Hmm.
So, like, you know, you'll be in a conversation with them and then they'll be like, yeah, whatever. What matters here is what's being done to me, right? So, like, it's like you kind of, like, if someone's getting in trouble for something, right? Let's say I get called down to the principal's office and then I try to go, like, yeah, well, you know what? Ted's doing this,
Right.
right? Or, like,
Yeah.
Ted did this and that's why I responded that way, right? Like, you try to
Yeah.
seize the narrative and, you know, using a shame or a past negative event against you, right? Things like, you know, if someone I don't know if you say to an HCP like, you really hurt my feelings, right? They might say like, oh, I hurt you. Let's talk about that one time when you hurt me. Do you remember when you did this? Brr, 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 right? Like it just
Yep.
there's my
And
my
suddenly,
brr, brr, brr's coming out. But yeah, it's like it's just kind of like flipping the script, right? I think is a
yeah.
term that some people use.
Hmm.
Using sad or traumatic events in their life to make you feel empathy towards them, right? If you're trying to hold somebody accountable for their actions or behavior, right? And they say like, well, you know how much I suffered, and like what I've been through, and that it's hard for me, so you shouldn't be so hard on me, right? And that goes back down to the whole thing about accountability, right? And everyone has their stuff, yeah, absolutely, and we always want to empathize with people who have their stuff, but you don't get to weaponize it, right?
Yeah.
And use it to manipulate others.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And look, to avoid doing that, it can be a defense strategy. Somebody's giving you feedback about how they felt when you did X, and you're very uncomfortable with that. We can get into trying to change the narratives to divert the conversation away. But if you want to be genuine, sincere, you hang in there and have a discussion about that line of inquiry, if you will, that is being raised. And at another time, you can bring up what that person, may have done that was offensive or upsetting to you, right? So you're trying to keep it clear and crisp so that nobody's being gaslit. But that's not the agenda of people with dark traits.
Yeah, and speaking of which, here's our commercial break on all the wonderful things that go right in the middle of talking about high conflict tactics in case we all need a break. So we'll be right back with you after this.
This week's spotlight from Volk's Leadership Group is on executive and team coaching. Effective leadership is never static. It evolves in response to shifting culture dynamics, power structures, and organizational change. At Volk's Leadership Group, we partner with leaders and teams to transform self awareness into meaningful action, bridging the persistent gap between knowing and doing. Our approach helps identify the subtle power dynamics that shapes every workplace interaction, both visible and unseen. Through this awareness, leaders can cultivate environments that balance influence with integrity and strategy with empathy. Leadership can also be challenging and at times isolating. Volk's Leadership Group is always standing by, so you don't have to carry that weight alone. Thank you, and back to today's episode.
Welcome back, everybody. Hope you got your coffee, water, tea, chocolate milk, whatever you're rocking. And we were just talking about gaslighting and the different forms. Narrative seizing or flipping the script or, kind of just really altering, essentially abusing reality shaping power. And yeah, we are leading on to the next one here. So, Ted, if you want to take.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're all classic. Every time I come up with one, oh, this is a classic one. They're all classic. Minimization of your concerns and your experience, right? So this is really belittling. Um, and being dismissive. Oh, you're so petty. Oh, you're way overreacting, right? For heaven's sakes, just calm down, chill, right? And which is essentially saying that you're behaving in an inappropriate way, so that they can diminish whatever it is you're bringing up and discard it and make you feel small for what you're raising with them, in that moment, right? So it's no big deal. Come on, get
Yeah,
over it.
it's
Move
always
on.
something with you. You always need to just turn it into something, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Things like
yeah.
that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're making a mountain out of a molehill. Um, and truthfully, sometimes people can do that. We can, be highly distressed, and we can do that. So that's what gives a degree of credence to all of these tactics. But remember, we're talking about these tactics being favorites of those with dark personality traits. So that was number 5, minimization. Yeah, how about the next one there, Adrian? One of our
Yeah, so physical gaslighting, right? So causing physical pain, but accusing the victim of overreacting to it, even to the point of shaming them for being hurt. Like, oh, come on, I just tapped you. I didn't actually hit you, right? You're overreacting. Oh my God, I didn't like, you see things like that. And it's so wrong in so many ways, right? Or, my favorite, you made me do that, right?
right.
I'm not the
Yeah.
type of person, but you pushed me to that point, right? It's crap. So sorry, I'm
Yep.
just to speak bluntly, but
Oh yeah.
it's yeah. So you know, and you see that with in all kinds of dynamics, right? Obviously, there's examples in movies that portray this, but again, it happens in real life a lot, right? Actually, I hate that I keep bringing up Jersey Shore, but like, yeah, like there's episodes of Jersey Shore where like, the one guy gets mad and then he shoves the one girl, and then when she says like you shoved me, he's like, no, I didn't. I was just getting you out of the way, like, kind of things like that, right?
Hmm.
But yeah, like just physical boundaries are a thing, right? Obviously, nobody is allowed to inflict harm on anybody.
Yep.
And this is just another type of gaslighting, right? It's like, no, I didn't. You're overreacting to it, or like I barely touched you, or I just tapped you, or whatever,
Yeah.
right? And it's all aimed to make you feel bad about, I don't know, raising
About
concern.
about them not hurting you,
Yeah, pretty much.
right?
Yeah,
But you've been hurt.
yeah,
So here you've been hurt, and they're telling you you were not hurt,
yes,
you know, and
it's
and
ridiculous.
or you're being a baby, and that was just a tap, and so eh, it's more diminishing in there. We
Yeah,
had a case of uh, an individual who had set up their work partner for something that resulted in a physical injury. So, he and his partner were going to do a lift in the workplace, and you do the prepare to lift now, and so he says prepare to lift now, and then he doesn't lift, and his partner does, and it was in a precarious situation, and by lifting then things went off kilter, and the partner was knocked to the ground and pulled tendons in their arm, and then was off work, right? So this wasn't the physical gaslighting. This was effectively lying to somebody that I'm going to work with you on this, and now I'm not going to, so caused an injury. Person was off, comes back on modified work, sitting in the staff room, and lunch break is over, and the perpetrator of this, because of course he said, oh well, I said prepare to lift, but then I lost my grip, right? So there's some gaslighting too. I'm lying, that I indeed was going to lift, but I didn't. And so, walks by their partner who's on modified work, come back after a few weeks, still, sore, and walks by and whacks him in the shoulder that was damaged in the failed lift attempt. And come on, partner, time to get back to work. Whack. Oh, was that your sore shoulder? I'm sorry. Well, you really should think about not coming back until you're well, right? So diminishing the person, knew exactly what they were doing, and and this spills into sadism, right? There's delight in causing that pain to that person, but masking it behind well, you really shouldn't be back to work then if I just tapped you on the shoulder. No, they whacked them on the shoulder, and of course that's going to hurt. So many physical forms of pain that sadists inflict will be done behind the mask of a practical joke or just, horsing around or whatnot, right? And then that's gaslighting, oh, it's just the way we blow off steam around here. We all hit each other on the shoulder to get us back to work or what have
Hmm.
you. So, um, yeah,
Yeah, that was hockey culture for you.
yeah,
When
was it?
when
Yeah,
I was younger, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
and lacrosse, yeah.
sure. Yeah. And then there's some teams that would never tolerate that.
Right.
Like that's just not okay, right? I play football and I got to be on some pretty good teams and that kind of thing really, I saw a little bit of it, but not that much. So yeah, we're coming up on my big favorite. It's one of the ones that we most recently, I don't know if we coined this term ourselves or not, and so I won't say that we discovered it, and certainly it's been done for all all of Homo sapien history, I am sure.
Homo
But
sapien history.
yeah, right, yeah, because this brain is about 300,000 years old. We can't really say that our ancestors beyond that probably engaged in the same power dynamics, but probably we'll never know. Um, but this one really kind of gets under my skin. They all do.
Yeah, I mean, who are we
Um,
kidding?
yeah. So you're gonna take this one? Oh, did you just did the
Oh,
gas?
you
Yeah.
gave this huge
Oh,
introduction. I thought
okay.
you were gonna do it.
All right. I'll do this one. So this is gaslighting, and this is the cumulative effect of name calling and inducing self-doubt. So what do we call it? We call it identity assault, right? That's where they're going right to your core of your own sense of who you are as a human being. We all evolve an identity. We've got a core personality that stays with us more or less throughout our lives, but our identity is something that is partly shaped by nature, by our core personality and whatnot, but it's also shaped by our experiences and the roles that we come to perform in life, right? So, um, and so if I'll go back to the, you know, when I played football, I wasn't too bad at it, and I eventually, strangely enough, became like team captain eventually, and things like that. This is not pro. I'm never going to go pro. But it was really competitive football. Um, and so if I have come to a point where, hey, I'm team captain and I'm playing well and I'm playing both ways on offense and defense and like they're feeling pretty good about that, and then somebody comes along and says, you're a freaking amateur. Like you couldn't play ball, and I don't know how you got to be playing ball the way you are right now and all the rest of it, right? Now, if you don't give them any reality shaping power, maybe it's somebody from your other team. All right, fair enough. They're just trying to get under your skin and get you riled up. But if it's somebody who you give reality shaping power to, and they say, you're not half the football player your father was, so you're already doing a downward comparison there. And it doesn't have to be around, this, it could be around anything. You you have the title of a leader, but you're no leader. If you were a real leader, you would do X, Y, and Z, and but you suck. Um, or if you pride yourself on your kindness, you're easily the most selfish person I've ever met. If people knew the real you, they'd run from being in your company, you know. Um, and so those are examples of efforts to undermine your own sense of who you are and maybe what you're good at and what you pride yourself in. And so it's in classic terms, it's called an ad hominem attack, right? You're attacking the person and in an argument in that sense, and very much trying to make it personal. So, where are you going to chime in on identity assault, Adrian?
I mean, you pretty much nailed it, right? Like it's hitting you at the core, and you know, um, do I want to go into personality types? There's, there's personality types, NFs, which Ted and I are intuitive feelers that this can be just like such a devastating blow to. It can be obviously harmful to anybody, but yeah, it's just meant to break down your character, right? Break down what you think about yourself, shape your reality about who you are.
Yeah.
And one of the worst things of that is that, if you're actually a self-reflective person, this can be something that is makes you question yourself, not because there's anything wrong with you, but because you're open-minded enough to question,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a hard one.
It is, and we've worked with leaders who have had a stellar career, and this could happen at any point in somebody's leadership career if indeed somebody wants to you know do leadership, practice leadership, but um, which we'll find out later on. By the way, here's there is no such thing as leadership, but there is power. That's one of our contentions that we have, that leadership doesn't actually exist, which is awkward given that we've decided, when we rebranded, we decided to call ourselves Folks Leadership Group. Um, and even then we knew there was no such thing as leadership, but that's another long story that we'll have a whole episode on, why leadership doesn't exist, but power does. And so your leadership style is actually your power schema, right? We've hinted at this, and I just like to drop these little things. So identity assault, somebody who's really prided themselves on being an effective leader, and then they encounter somebody who is dark, and maybe they have had really very few people that they've had to try to lead who are dark. You can't lead people who are dark. All of your effective leadership strategies will fall away because they will see it as weakness and they will try to exploit that and manipulate you. So we've seen leaders who've had great careers, and then they encounter somebody with, dark traits, who gets them to second guess their entire lives, the meaning of their entire work life. And we've seen people who are fantastic leaders get ground down and feel like, what am I doing wrong? And you're not, because you can't lead these individuals. You can behaviorally manage them. And I did say we promised to give you strategies for dealing with these individuals, and we will. But yeah, there's identity assault and the implications of that in that context. But it can be in any context. You think you're a good baker. Well, let me tell you, your cakes are only fit for the bottom of the garbage pail. Right. And suddenly you're calling into question, has everybody been telling me my cakes are good and they're not? And I just came up with that. I don't bake.
Cake analogies.
Yeah, right. Because I'm hungry. Yeah, you want to take the next one? This is number 8 coming up.
Yeah, so negging, right? Innocent sounding comments intended to diminish your self-esteem. So it's essentially a technique designed to make you feel bad about yourself and destabilize your confidence in a bewildering manner. And the point is for the HCP to look good even as you feel badly about yourself. So you'll hear things like, well, at least you aren't as sad and pathetic as Jennifer, right? Jennifer's just a random name. But, it's like, it has this, kind of feeling to it. Put downs that are masked as well-intended jokes, like, oh, chill out, dude. Like, I'm just kidding. Right? Or like, oh, don't take me too seriously. Or like things like that.
Can I interject on that one? Because
Yeah.
one of the greatest psychologists of all time, who was a psychologist before there were psychologists, was William Shakespeare, right? Many a true word is spoken in jest, right? So, I'm hiding behind a joke, but I really do mean it, right? And that would be a good example of negging, you know.
Hmm. Yeah. And disguising insults as questions or constructive criticism. Like, have you always been this awkward, or is this a new thing for you? There's people that can help you, or like, have you always been this obnoxious? Or like things like that, right? Consistently minimizing their mistreatment of you, to the point where you might even find yourself apologizing to them for, you know, suspecting their behavior as being malicious. I only read your text messages because I care about you so much. Or, you know, even just like, oh, sorry, I thought you were mad at me, so that's why you can almost find yourself apologizing. It's kind of wild.
Hmm.
And then, backhanded compliments like, you're amazing, you're so well spoken for someone coming from your background. Or, you're pretty logical for a psych major, or you're pretty logical for a social worker, right? Or, you're pretty smart for a big dumb guy, or like, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
different stuff that you hear, but
Oh, and
um
and these are used in racist comments as well, right? And it's it's supposed to be a compliment that's actually a put down. That's
yeah.
negative, right? Yeah.
And it's subtle, and that's why I hate it so much. I was gonna say it openly. That's why I hate it so much, because it's always disguised as like, oh, like, no, I'm giving you a compliment, or oh, I'm trying to help you, right?
Hmm.
Or like, oh, just a tip for next time. If you can just not be as annoying, that would be great. Like stuff like
Yeah.
that, right?
Hmm.
Like, it's just like so passive aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely. Well, we got two more here, and
No worries. We got
this
about 10 minutes left.
all right. Yeah. So gaslighting by proxy. What the heck is that? Proxy is somebody standing in for you, right? And so this is also called gaslighting by tribe. And this is where you induce your negative advocates, your flying monkeys, to do the work on your behalf. So you don't have to do it directly. You get the others to do it on your behalf, right? So it could be, a friend or an ally at work, somebody's toady who's the bully, um, you know, and here's a couple of examples. Well, he's an amazing boss. You should feel lucky to have him, leading our team. And of course, the boss has put up the flying monkey to tell you this about how incredible they are. You're just being selfish and ungrateful, right? Um, and or there's the classic one from the family context. She's your mother. Whatever she does, it's always out of love. One day she'll be gone, and then you'll realize how ungrateful you've been, right? Or when you see her empty chair, this kind of stuff. That's you. Why aren't you um, loving and admiring and hanging on every word of the person with dark traits who is actually abusing you? Because you should be, right? And I'm a third person who's telling you you're being ungrateful. Um, so that's gaslighting by proxy. Get the negative advocates, the flying monkeys, in there to do your bidding, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Why don't you take the last one there, Adrian?
Yeah, and our last one here is self-victimization, and playing the victim, and even going as far as crying when all else fails, right? Don't be surprised if a high conflict person, if their aggression isn't working and if their domineering tactics aren't working, don't be surprised if they turn on the waterworks, because it's still a power attempt, right?
Oh yeah.
Claiming that everything I do I'm being called out for, even though I care so much and I'm trying my best, and I'm not trying to do anything wrong, and right. And we unfortunately see this a lot. And then what happens is, once the person kind of gets their power back or feels empowered again, they go back to being aggressive, right?
Yep.
So yeah, so it's and then they make you the bad guy, right? So they kind of flip it on you of like, oh, you're just holding me to this high standard, or just you're just, I don't know, like, there's just you're just out to get me, or you're like, just these kinds of things. And it's not remorse. And this is a fun term that I think Ted came up with. It's not
No, I
remorse.
didn't come up with this one,
You
but
didn't come
keep
up with
on.
this one? It's a quote.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not remorse, it's narcissistic theater, right? It's essentially, putting on a bit of a performance to guilt trip you, really.
Yeah, yeah. And this is where they go from bully to victim to make you the bully. And this is a very much a form of gaslighting. Oh my God, maybe I was out of line, right? Like look, they're crying. Um, and so this is an element, they turn, the abuse that they're inflicting on you as virtue signaling, um, right? And so, and this ability to cry is staggering. These individuals who can be so brash and in your face and willing to tear you apart psychologically, sometimes physically, can turn on the waterworks and cry at the drop of a hat. And they've been doing it throughout their lives. And whenever we are brought into to a workplace to help understand abuses of power, we almost invariably will be told, well, when we confront them, they cry and then they say, we're bullying them, and that can often lead to them to submitting a grievance or a harassment complaint against the very targets of their harassment and their bullying. So that turns it on its head that way. And it's absolutely bewildering unless you know that this is narcissistic theater, right? And I sometimes we're brought in. We do coaching frequently in the workplace, and at sort of in all set of circumstances. Some of your strongest people you want coaching so they get even better. But we've also do effectively coaching as part of a last chance agreement. And so I've sat there with somebody who I've read their their whole history of dark tactics and behaviors. I've been fully briefed on it. I am in a position where they know that whatever they tell me is going to go back to the organization, because this coaching is to help them one last try at being successful in the workplace. Um, and it's a very different kind of coaching than we would do in other circumstances. And the first thing in those meetings will be, I don't really know why you had to. I'm so sorry, Dr. Boakes, you had to be in here, but I've just, people just don't understand how dedicated and committed I am to quality and to this workplace and all the rest of it. And I raised my voice because somebody was sacrificing quality on the line, or was doing something that was of danger to one of our residents, or whatever the context would be in. And they are telling me how virtuous they are and how hard done by they are. And if I didn't have that whole background in front of me and the whole briefing from the organization, the people that have had to contend with this particular individual, they can be very convincing. Um, and I was listening to another podcast on this very topic, and they were talking about the mother of somebody who was a psychopath, known to the mother as a psychopath, 18-year-old daughter, and she'd been caught shoplifting, and mother is called. The shoplifter doesn't know mother's called. Mother is brought in to where this young woman's been detained, and she's bawling her eyes out. I just want pretty things. I don't get these things, and I'm denied them. My mother won't let me have makeup, and so it's the only way I could possibly. Mother walks in, looks at her daughter crying, and says, "Stop it right now." And oh, you're here. So this young woman, the 18-year-old who is a psychopath, stops crying immediately, like, because it's just been a performance that whole time. And narcissists can do it too, not just the psychopaths as well. Yeah,
Yeah. So
turn it
it's
on.
pretty intense, and that's our tactics. Yeah.
Yeah, and so what kind of time do we have left, Adrian? Because we can pull this together with a few really interesting examples here.
Yeah, we got a couple minutes.
Got a couple minutes? Okay, so here's what common gaslighting phrases can sound like. Why don't why don't we back and forth this whole list? There's 18 on this list, but there's so many more ways to say
We're
it.
gonna be like rappers.
Yeah, you go.
All right, you're overreacting.
You need help, seriously.
I didn't do that. I never did that.
I never said that. Never.
Oh my God, you're upset over nothing. You need to learn how to calm down.
Just calm down. It's no big deal.
You must be confused again. You know how you get.
Oh, you're so dramatic.
Why are you so defensive?
It was obvious to anybody I was just joking.
What are you talking about? Jesus.
It's your own fault. You know you're your own worst enemy.
Oh my God, you're so sensitive, Kay. Just chill out.
You twist things. You always twist things.
Stop imagining things.
Oh, so I suppose you're going to make it my fault again. You always do that to me.
No one with half a brain would think that's what I said or meant. Jesus. Oh my God.
It's always something with you, isn't it? Right. These are all gaslighting phrases that we we, we take them right out of workplaces that we work in, right? Yeah. So.
And we might have had some of these said to us. It's yeah,
Uh-huh.
very common.
Yeah. Here's another one that is kind of a special class of gaslighting, and this one really gets under my skin. This is preemptive or retrospective justifications for cruelty. Okay, now there's a really old song with a maid. I think the chorus is, cruel to be kind. You got to be cruel to be kind, just in the right measure, something like that. I remember I never liked the song, but and it goes way back. I Speaking as somebody who has spent a fair bit of time studying psychology, along with my colleague Adrian and our colleague Amir, none of us have ever seen a situation that requires cruelty to be kind. You can say difficult things to people, things that they may not want to hear, and you can do it with compassion and empathy and be supportive. So I'm just going to rule out the necessity for being cruel to be kind, right? And so here are some phrases that are often used by people with dark traits. Why don't you hit it, Adrian? You take, and we'll go back and forth again.
Oh, we're gonna take the freestyle here straight from the W Votes Leadership Group, rapping the high conflict tactics. Yeah. So you say you want honesty. I'm just being honest with you.
Right. There's some virtue signaling in that, right? I'm only being honest. No one else will tell you the truth about you. They're all cowards.
At least I'm not two-faced. I say it like it is. You just can't handle the truth.
Sometimes you have to be cruel to be kind.
Oh, I love this one. I don't like it either, but it's for your own good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I hate
Right.
that.
Oh, yeah. You just can't deal with hearing the truth.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? This one's my favorite. I don't like being mad at you. Don't make me mad at you.
Oh my God.
Right? It
Yeah.
kind of
Oh,
puts
yeah.
the yeah.
You are responsible for how I feel. So the behavior that you get from me is a direct reaction to your behavior, right? And I don't like it, but you make me do it. All right. Um, no, just no. You're allowed to have emotions about what somebody else, but those emotions are yours, right? And so,
Yeah. And I also, you know what? I also hate I say it like it is.
hmm
Oh, I just say it like it is. I'm like, okay, you know what? Like to your point, you can be truthful without being a jerk about it.
yeah,
Like, you know what I mean? It
yeah, and that's great. I'm adding that to the PowerPoint. I just say it like it is.
oh, I
Yeah,
hate that one so much. Um,
yeah.
yeah.
It's so um, so this these are gaslighting phrases, and here is bringing back the tears, right? When all their other tactics have failed, and we still have more tactics I'm afraid to go through. We'll have to do them in our next episode. They'll cry. and they'll portray themselves as the victim, and then they'll blame you or their target of blame. Oh, it wasn't me, it was Adrian, um, for bullying them. Well, I wouldn't have done this, but Adrian made me do it. Adrian made me angry, and so I threw all those parts on the assembly line, on the floor. Um, yeah, no. Um, you're responsible for your own behavior, responsible for your own emotions. You're allowed to talk to somebody if they're upsetting you, but um, you know, this is gaslighting. So so here's the big finale. I don't know if this series of phrases was ever said, but I don't know. It's the gaslighting vortex, right? The black hole that you could be taken down on this one. Our team put this together, I think, during the pandemic. But it's a gaslighting logic spiral, right? And it ends with no, you're the cruel abuser, right? You want to take this one, Adrian, or
Sure. Um, I might rap again. Let's see.
yeah, I want to hear you
So
rap.
it would start off with that didn't happen, and if it did, it wasn't that bad, and if it was, it's no big deal, and if it was, I was only joking, and if I wasn't, it's not my fault, and if it was, I didn't mean to do it, and if I did, you made me do it, and if you didn't, it was your own. It was for your own good, and if you call me out on my abusive power games towards others, I'll cry and make you out as the bully. Right, so it's kind of, now again, it doesn't always go. This is kind of, there's inserts in between, right, of you trying to explain yourself to them,
Yeah.
right, and they always fire back with like, well, yeah, but if it was that, it's no big deal, and
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, well, I was only joking, and then you explain yourself further. Well, I didn't mean to do it. Like, it's yeah. But it kind of just like goes down like a staircase, right? Of all these pieces, and it's a power game back and forth.
Totally.
It's never I was wrong.
No,
It's
no,
never what you get.
no, no, absolutely not.
You never get
And
I was wrong. You never get I'm sorry. You never get I should be better. Like there's no accountability,
no.
remorse.
Well, and that's the hallmark of anybody with dark traits, that profound egocentrism, the profound callousness, and the profound manipulation that is the hallmark of all four of the dark traits.
Yeah.
And you put them in. You remember that almost nobody has just one. We talked about that, and so not everybody who is dark has all four either. But I think we've also said don't do the math. If they only have two of the four dark traits, it doesn't mean that they're only 50% bad. No, full on, right? We have yet to encounter somebody who's only one of the four dark traits. I don't see how that, if it happens, it happens. Almost anything can be possible in psychology, but it doesn't make sense. It does not make sense that that would be the case. So they're going to use gaslighting as one of their primary methodologies for getting you to doubt your own sense of reality. And if they can do that, they've destabilized you. They've knocked you off your game, and that's their objective, is to get control, right? Abuse that power.
Yep. Well,
Yeah,
I feel like that's a
good place to stop.
good place to stop for today. But
Yeah,
yeah, so thank you everyone for coming along with us to explore the tactics. And again, if you ever meet us in person at any trainings or stuff that we do, we often, you know, have conversations about different examples and stuff. And, we're happy to talk to you about, any situations that you might have had. And yeah, any
yeah.
closing
Yeah,
remarks?
well, if there's some form of gaslighting or examples of gaslighting that you've experienced, feel free to share. Put them in the comments. Send us off an email. We're easy to find. We haven't, and link up with us on LinkedIn. We post lots of material that's relevant to social power. The book is coming. It's going well. We continue to learn more, and it goes into the book. So, but keep tuning in, and you'll learn more about their tactics. I think we'll get through the tactics that we've most frequently see from these individuals who are abusing power in our next episode, and we'll be moving on to other exciting things. I don't know in how many episodes, because this is worth spending the time on. Um, now I will do a little foreshadowing too. If you look at the world right now, we have a lot of very powerful leaders on the planet who absolutely, not everyone, but many, with substantial power who are categorically dark. And it's just overwhelmingly obvious on the international stage. And it's always been the case, but right now we we're living in a time where it's easier for them to get power, and we'll explain why that's the case and why it's not going to continue forever. We just don't know when it will stop. We can't predict that, but we know that these individuals eventually, and we will end the series with what likely invariably happens to these individuals in the course of living their lives. They win a lot of battles, but they lose the war in the vast majority of cases. And the more you know about what we're talking about here, the more you can protect yourself, and the shorter their reign of terror in the organization you're in the community that you're in the family that you're in, if you have one of these individuals. I wish all of this was known when my grandmother was running amok amongst my parents and aunts and uncles. It would have been so much such a help to them. But she was good at gaslighting, you know. So yeah, on that heavy note.
Yeah, well, thank you everyone for joining, and stay tuned for next episode next week. And we're Vokes Leadership Group. This is the Social Power Lab, and we're standing by. We'll talk to you
Standing
soon.
by. Thanks, Adrian. You're amazing.
Oh, you're amazing.
No, you are. No,
No, you hang up.
no, you hang up. Oh man, that's just so sappy. All right.
Thank you for listening to the Social Power Lab podcast. Make sure you join us next week as we continue to uncover the hidden dynamics of social power all around us, because every conversation changes the world one interaction at a time. You can listen to the Social Power Lab podcast on YouTube under Social Power Lab _VLG, on Spotify under Social Power Lab, on Substack under Social Power Lab, and on Apple Podcast under Social Power Lab. Thank you and have a wonderful day. This podcast was produced by Trenton Vokes. The theme was produced and written by Adrian Deschamps.